Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on project, program, and portfolio management. This podcast is brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting company for project, program, and portfolio management. You can probably see in the background, I'm sitting in a hotel room, and this week I'm actually in downtown Philadelphia to attend the PMI Leadership Institute Volunteer Planning Meeting, which I will talk about a little later on. But before I get into that, I would like to talk about two topics that are near and dear to my heart. The first one is really near and dear to my heart, and it's about neuroscience. And the title of this one is 5 Discoveries That Made 2008 a Huge Year for Neuroscience. I have a model that I will be publishing a book here soon on taking neuroscience and applying it to leadership and team leadership. And that model helps to bring that in. So anything that has to do with neuroscience kind of intrigues me. So I think we all need to know about it, not to the point that a scientist would know about it, but to the point that you understand what's going on and how it affects your leadership skills. If you're a project management, you've got to understand this because leadership is critical to us. And that's one of those soft skills that we will be needing. So what's going on? One of the things that I found amazing, and I just want to read these little snippets to you, is that a paralyzed patient shopped and texted using an Android tablet with just their brain waves. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if we could just think to get things done? BrainNet let 3 people collaboratively play a Tetris-like game using their thoughts. To me, that's almost scary because we as project managers, can you imagine if you start thinking, and you can communicate with others that are on the project team that may be far away? A first memory prosthesis boosted recalls in humans, and brain-controlled robotic limbs can now know their location in space or even add a third arm in able-bodied people. To me, some of this is absolutely fascinating, but it's also scary. Some gamers were able to create a digital museum. Of course, there were scientists involved with this, that constructed with the help of 250,000 gamers that showcases every bend and turn of neurons in a mouse's retina, or a map in which billions of synapses in the mouse's brain light up like the starry night. Can you imagine if we can start mapping our own retinas and what it does to the brain? So it was the year that human brain organoids, and I have actually talked about this in a previous podcast. It was a mini brains that loosely resembled the real thing during fetal development. It grew their own blood supply, thrived for months inside mouse brains, and shocked the world by producing electrical patterns that resemble those in premature babies, so launching a debate on their ethical use. But there's some other things that we're finding out. So there's project managers that are leading this, and that's why I think it's so important. One is the infection side to Alzheimer's disease. They're finding out that the HPV-1 virus, which causes cold sores on your mouth, is probably causing some of the problems with Alzheimer's. So this annoying virus responsible for cold sores may be a potential trigger. Scientists have known since 1990s that HSV-1 confers a large risk for Alzheimer's in people who carry a specific variant of a gene called the AP0E4. So they can actually check you genetically to see if you have the AP0E4. I know I get cold sores all the time, and they said the more that you got it in your early adulthood may cause Alzheimer's. So to me, it would be very important to find out if I had the AP0E4. So the next thing is electrical implant restore walking in paralyzed patients. Again, we have project managers working on that. The technology in several years in the making with initial positive results in monkeys. It works by implanting a neuroprosthesis into the spinal cord to bypass the site of injury by artificially stimulating remaining nerves. In September, the Mayo Clinic reported the extraordinary case of Jared Chinook, who was paralyzed at the waist in 2013. After getting the implant, he walked half the length of a football field. Can you believe that? Another report showed that electrical stimulation in 4 cases was able to help some paralyzed patients go home and get around with a walker. So it looks like that soon we will be able to do implantations at the spinal cord, and people who couldn't have walked now are walking. That's just amazing to me. So CRISPR barcodes map brain development in exquisite detail. So last August, a team used CRISPR, and I've talked about CRISPR before in some of my podcasts, to generate a unique genetic barcode for every single cell in the mouse's brain. By reading the barcode, scientists were able to retrace a cell's entire history in the developing brain. This could help us in the human brain as well. Can you imagine if we can map the history of every cell? We know which cells start to die, and we can understand why that's happening. There's also been a link of the gut and the brain that's causing a lot of aha moments, I guess is what I want to call it. So the human gut is lined with over 100 million nerve cells that allow it to talk to the brain, letting us know when we're hungry or when we've overindulged. But it's not all digestion. Scientists are increasingly realizing that the gut can contribute to anxiety, depression, or more controversially, cognition. Can you believe that? Last year, scientists found a new set of informational highways that directly link the gut to the brain. Within the gut, enteroendocrine cells pump out hormones that kick off digestion and suppress hunger. These cells have little foot-like protrusions. So with the help of glow-in-the-dark rabies virus, which can jump from synapse to synapse, the team found that the enteroendocrine cells directly link to neurons in the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is a giant nerve that is vital to the brain and the hearts and the lung. But they're finding that in another study, found that the gut directly links the brain reward centers to the vagus nerve. So can you imagine if they can find out what's going on with the vagus nerve, we may be able to control hunger in obese patients, and even in those of us that have a few extra pounds that we want to get rid of. So these new connections could explain why the vagus nerve stimulation is potentially helpful for those that are severely depressed. Can you imagine that? The gut actually contributes to people that are severely depressed. So more relevant to the holiday season, it also could explain why eating makes us feel warm and cozy. So they're finding that if they stimulate the vagus nerve, it helps those that are severely depressed. And to me, that's absolutely amazing. So let's go to the next one. And this is called the rise of new generation of AI avatars. So this is again brought to you by Singularity Hub. And I found it interesting that they said there's a whole generation out there that never heard of Clippy. And Clippy was a wide-eyed paper clip interrupting a Word doc writing project. So I remember Clippy, and it was probably one of the first avatars we saw out there. Everybody thought it was absolutely annoying. So in fact, Time magazine named it among the 50 worst inventions of all time. Actually, Clippy was just probably 20 years ahead of ahead of the wave. So it was very astute that Microsoft knew eventually we would need avatars. So thinking about this, there's actually talk about bringing Clippy back, but I would imagine it would come back only if you asked it for help. But anyway, this is coming back to think about avatars for things like Alexa, Siri, Cortana, Google. So can you imagine if there's an avatar instead of you talking to this nondescript box and the avatar comes back and talks to you? So this would be more human interface. So that would be absolutely amazing. And this would be done with AI. So there's one interesting study by a team of researchers in the UK who noted that by simply attaching an image of eyeballs to supermarket donation bucket, collections increased by 48%. through the authors of a study indicated more research is required before claiming we can understand why this is. But there's different, if we have eye contact with things, it makes it more personal and makes it more understanding to us. It's not just a thing out there. It's more like a human that we're talking to. So can you imagine if Target and Walmart may build AIs to compete with Alexa? Banks will have them at their branches. Media companies will use avatars of their characters to promote films. And you may one day interact with an avatar assistant who can guide you through your check-in process to show you around your Airbnb. So there's going to be things like avatars going around in just about any software that you can imagine. To me, that's very interesting because I can imagine that happening with project management software stuff. I can imagine, as I've said before, that you're talking to Siri or you're talking to Google or you're talking to Cortana, and you're actually talking to an avatar, and you tell this avatar, go out and help me with risk management, or go out and find me somebody, and they bring them back to you in talking to a human interface. So that's absolutely amazing to me. So let's switch gears to a little bit. I told you that I'm at the PMI Leadership Institute Volunteer Planning Meeting, and AI was talked about, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. But before I go any farther, I wanted to bring to you some of the groups. I'm considered some of the leadership team for PMI, and some of the things that are here today, and it's a 4-day gathering. So there's board-supported committees, and those are the PMI Board Voluntary Advisory Committee. Then there's the PMI Certification Governance Council. There's the PMI Global Accreditation Center for Project Management Education Programs. There's the PMI Nominating Committee. There's the PMI Ethics Review Committee on which I serve, and the PMI Educational Foundation Board of Directors. But that's not it. There's also advisory groups. There's the Academic Chapter, Ethics, International Standards Organization, or ISO. There's the awards, professional awards, the registered education providers, the standards member advisory group, the technology member advisory group. Then there's regional mentors. There's absolutely a whole bunch of regional mentors because they've divided the world into different PMI regions. So let me go on to some of the things that were talked about yesterday. They brought all of us together, and they had the PMI director talk. And the actual start date for PMI was October 3rd, 50 years ago. So PMI is absolutely going to have a big party on October 3rd. And I don't know exactly what this entails, but they're going to have as a big celebration. So I imagine if you come out to the PMI website on that date, you'll see many things going on. But they're going to be celebrating the 50th anniversary also in many of their get-togethers. So at the PMI Congress, EMEA Congress, that's happening in Dublin this year in May. At the PMI North America Congress, or they also call it the World Congress, which is happening October here in Philadelphia. So it's interesting that they're having it in Philadelphia. They also have the PMO Symposium, and I think that's happening in Denver, but they'll be celebrating the 50th anniversary there. So there's going to be big celebrations going on, but we're seeing that PMI is bigger than just scope, budget, and timeline that we used to do. They want to bring in AI and disruptive technologies and understand how project managers need to know that. So this is bigger than just your traditional thing, and they understand that project managers, program managers, and portfolio managers have to deal with all of this. So they want to give us the tools that we can understand on how to do that. So they keep on calling PMI the association of the future. They don't want to be a follower. They want to be a leader in associations to understand that. So we're going to be seeing a lot of things changing in here. One thing that I found absolutely interesting is that they've partnered with TED Talks. And the reason that they're partnering with TED Talks is that they've decided to give away 50,000 hours of service time. And actually, yesterday afternoon, everybody that's here for the leadership meeting did 4 hours of volunteer activities. So that was 1% of the 50,000 hours, because there's probably, I don't know, 300 people here. So it's amazing to me that they were able to put together, and they actually had 4 different events that we could go to. I actually participated where I put together bins for schools here in Philadelphia that are where everybody is poor, so they can't bring in their own things. So we had everything from sanitary things to dry erase markers to composition books. There was just everything, pencils, everything that you think that a child would need at school. We did that yesterday, packing that up. So I think we'll be seeing a lot from TED Talks with PMI. So to me, that's absolutely impressive. So if you haven't heard, Mark Langley left on 1st of September, so that they are actively looking for a new CEO. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. Right now, the interim CEO was the CFO for PMI, and that is Joe Cahill. And I think he's going to be a good interim CEO. And who knows, he might even be the actual CEO. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. So it was interesting that they brought up 5 business challenges that PMI is seeing. And I'm not at liberty to tell you what all of them are, but I want you to understand that they're the same business challenges that big corporations have talked about. It's technology, it's disruptive stuff that's going on, it's AI, it's the changing environments, it's the different generations that we have out there. It's the survival rates of businesses, but that's nothing new. That's everything that we're seeing in what companies are doing. So PMI wants to make sure that they're at the forefront of all of this. Will that mean that they're going to solve it all? No, absolutely not. But they understand that we as project, program, and portfolio managers need all of that. So what does it mean? It needs to say that we need to reimagine what our business models will look like in the future. Like I said, we may be, as project, program, and portfolio managers, absolutely talking about AI. We might be talking to avatars. And in fact, it's very interesting throughout the whole hotel here at the Sofitel. They have everything covered with PMI, the elevator doors, they have posters, all the doors are covered. And it shows different pictures of what project managers and program managers have done. And it shows about NASA. It shows about different bridges and infrastructure that they've done all over the world. It shows different technology. So it's absolutely amazing to me what project managers are doing. So stay tuned at what's going on. We need to understand what the workforce needs, and PMI, it needs to be on the forefront of that. Not just providing, the standard golden triangle, but understanding what we need if you're starting your career, or if you're in the middle of your career, or if you're advanced. They need to provide us what we need. So they're going to be looking at the new skills that we need and be able to provide to us on short notice the absolutely things that we need to do. So what are some of those things? Well, one of them I talked to you is TED Talks, but another one that I found very fascinating is called PM Edge. So if you go to the PMI.org website and you log in and you go to learning, you'll see something called PM Edge. And PM Edge is for brand new project managers or people that are wanting to see if they really want to go into project management. And this is a free platform, so you don't have to be a member of PMI. They're reaching out to those that might want to do that. So if you're in the military and listening to this, you may want to go out to this PM Edge and see if project management is something that you're wanting to do. Or if you did project management and got your degree in bachelor's or master's in degree, in project management, go out to PM Edge and look at that. And it's advertised as a free all-in-one platform to learn project management. And they have different things that you can do. So it's one of the things that it says, get spot on 2-minute actionable reads, play with flashcards to help learn key terms, take quizzes to test your knowledge, watch videos to bring it all together, learn about industry, standard topics like risk, project management, approaches, stakeholders, meetings, and project requirements. So understand all of that. If you're wanting to know about PM Edge, go to that. If you have somebody new that's an intern or just starting at project management in your company, have them go out. Give them the time to go look at PM Edge and look about project management. So that's one of the things that they're brought. So what are some of the challenges that we have at project management? And again, I can't go into these in detail, but they're the standard ones. And there's 10 of them that they're looking at. Of course, there's many more, but there's 10 that they're focusing on at the board level. And they're already looking at, as I mentioned, they're looking at the different career set, and they understand that they're not helping the brand new PMP, and they want to help them, or the ones that are trying to get their PMP. They want to help them get there. So they want to make sure that the PMI is not a comedy, because not a comedy, but a commodity. Sorry about that. So they want to make sure that the PMP isn't viewed as a commodity, and I think it is. So they're going to try to change that to meet the needs of it. They're going to bring out new certifications, in my opinion. I don't know that for a fact, but I think we're going to see new certifications coming out. We're going to see new standards. We're going to see new ways of the standards being promoted to us. It won't be just a PDF. It won't be just a book that you bring, but they want to make them more relevant and understanding to us. So they want to be, like I said, the market leader. They don't want to be a follower. They want to they want to understand that they must center around the member. So they're going to be customer need based. So you're going to see a whole lot of more surveys coming out so they can understand what we need as project managers, program managers, portfolio managers. They want to understand how business is absolutely driving us. They want to understand how disruptive technologies are driving us. They want to understand how the digital transformation is driving us. They want to understand what we need for our different projects and programs and portfolios, understanding that we are all over the map. There's pharmaceuticals, there's communications, there's technology, there's media, there's just a vast array of things going on there. Energy, the windmills that are going out there to get wind energy, that are even out in the ocean. So that's amazing to me. So please, 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 please go out and understand. They want to also refresh the PMI's brand. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of things coming out, all of this. And I want you to understand that the transformation of PMI, which actually started in 2017, will not end until 2022. So this is a long process. Transformation is long and painful, but they're going to try to make it as less painful as possible. But it's going to be pushing us, especially people like me that have been in project management for over 30 years. We're going to see that it's going to be at times painful for us because we understand how PMI works now. But PMI is changing, and it's going to be radically different. And I'm excited for it, and I hope you are too. So if you're a brand new project manager or you kind of come lackadaisical with PMI, give it another chance. You will see vast amount of changes happening with PMI. So I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on project, program, and portfolio things. And this was brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting company on project, program, and portfolio needs for your company. Please go out to PM Current and follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. I would love to see you on those things and following my podcast. If there's anything that I've said today that you would like to discuss, please contact me on wanda@pmpower.com. I'd love to discuss things, or if there's other podcasts that you've looked at and you disagree or you agree, I'd love to have you on board. So stay tuned. I will be bringing other guests. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you on Monday.